Hi guys, it's Emily from Novel Novels and welcome to today's video. This is my May wrap up part 1. So, it's going really well. I've got 6 5-star books so far this month and some real favourites. Some favourites I think that will be favourites for the year so far. I've got 6 books that I am going to be adding to my TBR for the second half of the month. Now these are books that I'm excited about, books that I've decided that need to be added for my readathon, and ones that just can't really wait on the shelves much longer. And obviously, knowing me, the way I'm reading, I will be doing well. Now I'm filming this bang on halfway through the month on the 15th, and I've read 15 books. I got some books, not so many books. I've got 2 books I'm starting today, and I'll go through the books I'm currently reading, the ones I'm starting today first. Then I will show you the books that I've ranked and rated. I will be honest, classics are not doing well this month. So, I'm currently reading this Barnaby Rudge by Charles Dickens. I'm reading this over the course of the month, which is proving harder than I thought. So I'm pretty much going to be about halfway through there this week. So I'm about 238 pages in, and it's all right, but it's not like amazing. It's not like David Copperfield style, like, oh my god, I love reading this. But it's all right. It's just, and it's better than Martin Chuzzlewit. I would definitely say I like Barnaby Rudge's character. I'm getting the story. I'm enjoying it a bit more. But where my problems with the classics is going, yeah, I'm having a few issues. Now, my next one is one I started last night, and it's my reread, and that's Get a Life, Chloe Brown. It's a reread because obviously, it's for my Spoonies Readathon, and started it last night, and I think I'm reading a bit more into it on the reread. It's the first time rereading it, and it was my favourite book of a couple of years ago. I'm definitely getting more out of it this time, and I can see certain aspects of my readathon that are coming through where I'm looking for certain areas where I've got similarities with Chloe Brown. So definitely enjoying that more, and I started that. Today I start my buddy read with Gemma, who was previously on here, not our Gemma books, the other Gemma, and that's Verity by Colleen Hoover. It's a nice, short but sweet book. I need to page it up, and I'm starting this today. It's Colleen Hoover's thriller, so I'm excited and nervous and need to get to it. So that's going to be the one I'm starting with today. And then I'm also starting, but I'm going to read this sort of over the course of the week, kind of more or less going to read a couple of chapters of this a week. And this is Disability Visibility edited by Alice Wong, and this is different stories. So I might try and do 2 of these short stories or 2 of these stories of it every day, and then go through it that way. I think that might be the way of doing this, because I definitely find that if I try and read short stories all in one go, I don't get as much out of it. So I think my plan is to read 2 short stories a day, 2 of these tales a day, whatever, and go through it that way. So those are the ones I'm currently reading, or about to start today. Obviously everything would have probably been read by the time this goes live, but you know. Now for what I've read. First one I read for my classics prompt of the Spoonies Readathon, and that was a classics with disability rep. And I read this for that prompt because John Milton is a blind author, and these are controversial poems of the 17th century. It's about hell and Eden, the representation of Eden, and I am a Christian, and I found that very challenging, and I only rated it 2 stars, and it was just a real massive flop for me. I didn't like it. I'm not keeping it. Goodbye. I tried reading it. I thought, oh, Ross from Scally-Langley about the books, loved it, and I thought it was brilliant. Sorry, didn't like it. And then I read for Gem of Books, his readathon, the Thomas Hardy readathon, that Misery May. I read the Wessex Tales, which is a story by Thomas Hardy, and again, I didn't get anything out of it. When I looked at it on Storygraph, it said it's non-fiction, and I don't know if it's non-fiction or fiction or what, so I may keep this to find out if I try and read it again. But again, I didn't like it. None of the stories grabbed me. I'm just not, I don't know, do I keep it or do I not? I really don't know. At the moment I'm really undecided, so I might put that on my undecided pile. Then 3 stars was my Thomas Hardy book that I am keeping, and that is The Trumpet Major by Thomas Hardy. And this was all right. I actually did read this and actually remember some of the storyline. And it was sort of a wartime book with the trumpet major. And it's the courtship of Anne Garland and her 3 suitors. She's got 3 guys who are after her. The trumpet major, Don Loveday, his sailor brother, Bob, and Festus Derriman of the Yeomanry Cavalry. It was all right. It wasn't amazing. I did get it a bit. I did like lead character Anne Garland. So it is one I'm keeping, but not one I necessarily loved. Then for my book, it's partly for the Disabilities Readathon, partly because I wanted to read it. Now I'm rating it as contemporary, but it's actually set at the start of this in 1964. So should I rate this historical fiction? But none of it is about the historical fiction side of it. It's about a family, and I found this challenging. I rated it 3.5 stars because the writing is good in that there are some aspects of this book that are good. Like at the start of the book, David Henry's a doctor and he delivers his wife's twins, and one of the twins comes out healthy and one comes out with Down syndrome, and he decides that because straight away we know all this, that his sister was Down syndrome and she died of a heart defect, and it effectively killed this doctor's parents. So he doesn't want to see his wife suffer. So he tells the nurse that helps deliver the baby to take the baby to an institution. Very quickly on, she decides to make her own decision. I think I can safely say, spoiler free, she doesn't. She keeps the baby, and and that event leads on to over the course of a very long time, their stories of how that one decision can change the whole family and change, obviously, the nurse that took the child and everything else. And it's safe to say that I found certain bits of this were hard. The terms that they used to describe the child with Down syndrome, I found very, very triggering and very wrong, and it just really upset me. But then the nurse that decided that chooses to bring up the child that's got the disability, that's got the Down syndrome, the way she fights for her child's rights, she effectively she fights for this child's right. I thought that was represented well, which is why it got 3.5 stars. And you can see the guilt that the father feels for what he's done and what it does to his relationship with his wife and various aspects. But I definitely found it challenging. So I am definitely giving this up. But if you want to know a bit more, please let me know and I'll discuss it more. But it's very interesting and very challenging. And yeah, really got me thinking. So yeah. Didn't like that as much as I wanted to. Even though it was 3.5 stars, I found certain bits of that quite challenging. Now to 4 stars. I've got 4 4-star books and 1 4.5 star. So again, I've done a really good reading month. In comparison to last month, I've done really well. And I'm hoping that it's not going to work in detriment in the fact that the second half of the month's going to go badly because the first half's gone well. You never know. But I read 4 of my books for this spring. It was one of my spring books, and that was The Kitchen Front by Jennifer Ryan. I like this. It was really good, and it was really good representation of what happened in the war, about different classes, about the fight, the rationing, and the way they had to sort of cook out of things and money. And it's got 3 or 4 very different women in this. I think there's 4 very different women and their stories about the kitchen front and about battles for, like, they start this off with, like, the BBC decide they're going to have a competition to find out who's the best at cooking from rations and cooking at the time. And we've got 4 very different women. We've got young widow Audrey, her estranged sister Gwendolyn, who's very posh. Then we've got her kitchen maid Nell, who is again a kitchen maid, so the lower class. And then you've got Zelda, who's a London trained chef, and they each got their own reasons for wanting to win this. And it's very interesting. Female friendship's very good. There are some triggers in this, so be warned, there are some domestic abuse triggers and things, so be warned for that going in. But it was a very good book, 4 stars, but the triggers I wasn't aware of, and it going forward, I don't know if I should have been. But it was a good book. Then The Good Thieves by Catherine Rundell. This was my TBR jar, and my TBR jar did well. It's 4 stars. I think I might give this to Mia, because I'll see if Mia wants this. If not, I will give it to a charity shop, because I did find it really good though. It's a good book. It's not necessarily one I want to keep because it's not 5 stars. But this is actually historical fiction middle grade, which I didn't know. And it's about Vita's grandfather who was cheated out of everything he owns. And she's determined to set things right. So her and some friends that she makes set out to have a death-defying plan that will take them on a wild adventure across New York City. I didn't realise it was historical fiction at the time, but it was really good fun, and yeah, I think actually I'm going to keep that for Mia. I'll see if Mia wants that, but it was a really good, fun middle grade, really good, and I really enjoyed it. Then, I'm not going to keep this. I don't think Mia would necessarily like it. It was a very nostalgic book. It was the St. Clair's The Middle Years, but only one of these is actually written by Enid Blyton. The rest are written by Pamela Cox. This is very nostalgic, but for me it was 4 stars in the fact that this series, in comparison to the Mallory Tower series, the Mallory Tower series wins every time, and I found myself comparing it quite a lot. And it is very good, very boarding school, very about twins, very about different characters. And possibly if I was middle grade when I was reading this, I would have loved it more. But it was still good. I definitely prefer the Mallory Tower series. And I don't know if I should read, because the Mallory Tower series has got books that are written by another author based on that book. And I don't know if I should read them or whether I'm betraying Enid Blyton when I do that. Not sure, but that was a very good book. Did enjoy it, quite fun, quite nostalgic, but I definitely compared it a lot to Mallory Towers. Then a book I read because I borrowed it from my sister Charlie, and this is my first Bolu Babalulu book, Honey and Spice. This was 4 stars, and if I was YA, I might have rated it higher. So to me, this is more YA. It's actually the debut book. So I thought Love in Colour was her debut book, but it's not. This was actually her debut book. And this is about Kiki, who's an expert in relationship evasion, and she's at university and she meets Malachi, who is a handsome newcomer who's everything Kiki has been warning her sisters about, the one person that might collapse the community she's built. And this is about her sort of fighting back against prejudice, but you see a lot of what she's been through, and there are some triggers again in this, and I found it really good though. I definitely enjoyed it. It was definitely my first Bolu Babalulu books. And definitely, I really want to read Love in Colour because I think this was quite good. Bit of YA for me though. That's my only thing. But I'm going to give that to Charlie. So that's that one. I don't know if with these, because I don't want my wrap-ups to be too long. I'm trying not to talk about them too much. I do have Goodreads reviews, and if you want me to talk about them more, I will. Then to my 4.5 star book. This is one I'm going to put back on my shelves because I want Mia to read it, but not yet. And this is Confessions of an Alleged Good Girl. Again, it was on my spring books to be read. And this is about Monique, who lives a perfect life as a preacher's daughter and a girlfriend of the town's golden boy. But it's not that simple. She's torn between her parents, who want her to remain pure, and a boyfriend, Dom, who wants to explore the intimate side. And again, this has slight triggers because of what this is about. But it's about a celebration of self-love and body positivity. It is very, very good, and I really enjoyed this. Certain sides about her parents, who are very religious and wanted her to be pure, and she's also got the pressures to sort of have sex, and she's only a teenager, she's like 16, I think, and she has some home trial, and she really feels that she has to make her body perfect for this bloke of hers. And it's about fighting back and about this. And when she meets this other guy who is trying to say to her, it's okay to be you, and she's getting the rebellious side. And it's about images we put out and body positivity and real friendships, real genuine friendships. And I thought this was really good. Again, I would probably rate this higher if I was YA, but I do think this is a very positivity book. And it really is one, I'm definitely going to look for more of this author's works because I thought that was really, really good. My first keepy. Now to my 5 stars. I'm not going to ask you to guess my favourites because it's going to be very obvious. Out of the 6 of these, to be honest, 2 of them are going on my favourites of the year so far because they were amazing. But all of them were absolutely incredible. I read 6 incredible books, and they're all ones I recommend for various different people, and various different people will love them. Obviously, the first is the one that was a reread. That's My Mummy Doesn't Give a Beep. And this one is actually taken a little bit of time after My Mummy Swears. So this is a good 2 or 3 years later. And at the start of this, the mummy has broken up with her husband. Very much at the start, it's very early on. And it's about her getting her own life and being a single parent, and her kids are teenagers now. And I will say, I found this a lot more positive reading it now, because it got me thinking about how I'm going to behave as my kids get older, when they start to want to drink, when they start to want to go out. And she doesn't necessarily blame her kids for any decisions. She doesn't say, oh, you know, I'm a bad parent, whatever else. She's just trying to find her way as a parent of teenagers. And I think that was portrayed really well, because like, one of the things, I hope that I'm going to be a good parent as my kids get older. I hope that I will be able to support them when they go to teenage rebellion years. I know they're probably going to want to drink, they're probably going to want to do their own thing, and I hope I support them and say, well, this is what I did and this is what I plan to do. And it's parenting is the hardest job ever. Like, you cannot describe it to anyone how hard that's going to be. But I like the way this is done, because like, the mum's not shouting at her kids if they want to drink. She's like, I'd rather you were open with me, and I'd rather keep the lines of communication there. There are times when she gets annoyed at them. Well, don't we all? But this is done really positively, and I found that really good positive representation of what it's going to be like. And probably some of the things she does, I will probably do. I do drink, you know, I'm not perfect. I do have the odd gin in front of my kids. I've got tipsy in front of Mia once or twice. And I probably will. But I encourage her to always be able to talk to me, and I want both my kids to do that. So I think this is a really positive image of what it's like as a parent. And it's hard, and we always judge ourselves. I'm lucky I've got Chris as a support, but not everyone does. Sometimes you are a single parent. I think this does portray it really well. So I think this is a series I can see myself reading over and over again, because it's really good. Then to Heidi Swain, one of my absolute favourite authors of all time. It's her only standalone, and it's her newest release. It was only out last month. I wrote a good review for it. I've actually got a proper review. I still need to write a proper review for Casey's book, but I have done a really good review on this, and it is a standalone. It's great. Obviously, my Goodreads review will be like the best way to look at it. But it's about, we start this book. Classic novel Hopefuls is friends Emily, Rachel and Tori's favourite book. So when they get a chance to spend the whole summer at the cottage in Lakeside, where the film adaptation was located, it's going to be a holiday of a lifetime. They go for 6 weeks, and yeah, but before that, something happens and Tori has to drop out. And so they get another aficionado, Alex. I'm not going to give any spoilers for what happens, but it's about these people and their journeys when they're away for 6 weeks, and having a break for 6 weeks, and how they really think about their lives and what they want to do differently and how they want to go. It's fantastic. It's going to be one of my favourites of the year so far. I absolutely loved it, and it's one I recommend to everyone. Then to my next Seven Sisters book, which I was reading with the lovely Guy from Guy Athena. It's The Shadow Sister, and at the moment this is my favourite sister. This is about Star, and Star's the quiet sister, and she's always seen her other sister, Cece's shadow. And then something happens when she tries to find out what happens to her past. You obviously have her historical fiction story of where she was from and stuff, but you don't ever find out until where they're from until right at the end. And I didn't guess the connections. But so you have her story in the present, Star's story in the present, which is done really well. Some part of it's set in a bookshop, so you've got the book connections. This one's actually set in the UK, and then 100 years earlier is the past storyline. It's about Flora McNichol and her story, and the way the two lines interlink and the way they put the past and present chapters together, it's brilliant. It's an amazing book. I love this series. I can't wait to read the next one. And yeah, I love this series. There's not actually many I'm getting rid of, to be honest. And then the next one is the letters. This is my Ali McNamara, and that's for the prompt of author with a disability. I believe she's fellow Spoonie. Don't know much detail, but she is. And this is a very summery, contemporary. It's a 5-star, but I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this. Even though this is a 5-star book, it's not. I don't know if I should have rated it 5 stars, actually, because it's a good book, but I'm not going to reread it. So maybe I rated it higher because I like the author's work rather than, yeah. So maybe this should have been about 4.5 stars. And this is about Sandy Bridge. And again, you've got a bit of a history on this. And Grace grew up in Sandy Bridge, helping her parents sort through junk. And you've got her story, and she starts off, this is more sort of set in the past, with Charlie, who's a boy they became best friends. It's their sort of journey. And it's a really good book, and I think I'm going to lend that to Mum and see if I will keep it, because it is really good. It's historical fiction a bit, and trying to find out who she ends up with in the end, and it's really good. Good contemporary, but I probably shouldn't have rated it 5 stars. Then to the book, which is a favourite of the year so far, and it is Katie Lumsden's recent book. I know I said I would do a review, but I'm having real issues with time at the moment, and I'm such a busy person, so I haven't actually done my Goodreads review because I want it to be perfect. So I may actually set myself to do that today, and then if you may have a video coming out with a whole review video. But it's a brilliant Katie book. There are so many reviews of Katie's book online, and you can straight away tell this is book. Straight away, you know that the lead character, Margaret Lennox, is partially deaf. She's deaf in one of her ears, and it's their story, and it's cut off from the village. So she takes a governess post for a family. No, for Mrs. Evesham, who's Louis is the boy she's going to be the governess for. Louis' mother is Mrs. Evesham, and there's a forbidden garden, and it's just, it is such an amazing book. It's Victorian literature. It's set in Victorian times, but there are comments about so many books that I love, and oh my god, if you love historical fiction, if you love dark books, if you love mysterious books, there is a mystery that goes through this, which I didn't expect. It's books, and it talks about other books, and it's got, oh my god, it's just amazing. Katie did not disappoint. We were all waiting for this book. We all wanted this book to come out, and it's going to be one of my favourite years for it's apparently got Jane Eyre vibes, but I did kind of see that. But I saw other books that I loved in it, and other gothic books, and dark, and there is a little bit of romance, but it's not the way you expect, and it's very, very Katie, and I cannot recommend this book enough. It is thoroughly amazing. It's going on my best books of the year so far. I do need to get off my bum and write a review, but safe to say it is amazing. And then a book that I got sent to by Love Book Tours, and this was a surprise how much I like this. This is Things I Wish I Told My Mother, by Susan Patterson, Susan Delalio, and apparently James Patterson's actually had a connection to this book. And this is another very good 5-star book. This was 5 stars with my question. I'm going to keep this, and I want my mum to read it. And this is about Liz and Laurie, who are mother and daughter, but they couldn't be more different. Laurie is a free spirit whose creative career is about to reach new heights. Her mother, Liz, is a world-renowned doctor. Everything in her life has been just so. When Laurie gets an unexpected call, she decides to take her mother on a trip away to Paris, Norway. I've written a proper review on this on Goodreads, and it's on Amazon, and it's on Instagram as well. So please check out my things for that. And it is a really good book about what you would tell your mother, and are keeping secrets good, and better about opening up to each other and stuff like that. Now, I'm blessed. I've got the most amazing relationship with my mum, and we all have with our mum. She's the best, and I hope I will do this with Mia. But our secret is best kept hidden. I don't know. To me, I don't. I try and be as open as I can with my mum. She's one of the only people I can be. But yeah, it's very interesting and very intriguing. So yeah, the 2 favourites are definitely Secrets of Hartwood Hall and The Book Lovers Retreat. Still not sure about how to rate the Letters from Lighthouse Cottage, but I should have rated it as highly. But now, briefly, let me show you the books that I am going to add to this month's TBR, add up to the shelves. First one is I've got 2 contemporaries, because I've read so many contemporaries, but there's one that's like a historical fiction that I can read at contemporary time. So the first of these contemporaries is Anything Could Happen by Lucy Diamond, which is one of her newer books out. A chance encounter at New York City, a great love story on the cusp of a beginning, and then he was gone. For Laura and her daughter Eliza, it's always been the 2 of them. But when Eliza turns 18 and wants to connect with her father, Laura is forced to admit a secret that she's been keeping from her daughter their whole life. Eliza needs answers, and so does Laura. The journey to the truth will take them on a trip across England and eventually to New York, where it all began. This looks amazing. So I'm just going to put that over there. So that's the first one that I'm going to add to my shelves to read once I've read the books that are on my trolley already. I've still got to read The Marriage Portrait, A Pocket Full of Stars. They're the only 2 books I've still got to read once I've read these. So I've got time. You never know. Maybe adding more. I will probably be adding more to the books. Now, a book that I want to add to it because it was shortlisted for the Women's Prize a couple of years ago. And this is How the One-Armed Sister Sweeps Her House. I have been warned that this is very emotional. And this is going to be quite challenging. But I think that it just kind of makes me really get the vibes that I want to read it. In Baxter's Beach, Barbados, Lala's grandmother, Wilma, tells the story about her one-armed sister, a cautionary tale about what happens to girls who disobey their mothers. Ooh. How the One-Armed Sister Sweeps Her House is a powerful, intense story of 3 marriages and how a beautiful island paradise where the white sand beaches and wealthy tourists lie, and positive poverty, menacing violence, and the story of sacrifice for women some women make to survive. It's not a long book, which is good, but it looks like it's going to be challenging, but it's good. Apparently I've got a exclusive short story at the end of it, so that'll be good. Then I wanted to read a book that's been on my shelves for ages. I love Rachel Horay, or however we say it. This is historical fiction, but it's also got a contemporary storyline, so I love the way dual storylines. Set in 2000, the first storyline is set in 2011, and this is A Gathering Storm, sorry. When Lucy's troubled father, Tom, passes away, she travels to Cornwall to visit her childhood home and the once beautiful Carlian Mariner. Before he died, Tom had been researching an uncle that she never knew he had. Determined to find out why, Lucy tracks down Beatrice Ashton, a local woman who seems to know more than she's letting on, and has an extraordinary story to tell. And the other storyline is set in 1935. Growing up in Cornwall, Beatrice plays with the children of Carlian Manor, especially the pretty blonde Angelica Wincanton. Then one summer, at the age of 15, she falls in love with a young visitor to the town, Rafe, who she rescues from a storm-tossed sea. Looks very good. That one can be mixed in with the historical fiction. I can probably read that in the evening, I would have thought. Then a book, because obviously my failure with the classic for that prompt of the Spoonies Readathon, I decided to read Agatha Christie. And Agatha Christie counts because she had numeric. It's like dyslexia, but for the numeracy bit, and so that's what counts for that. And Alice recommended this book, and Then There Were None, and it's 10 strangers are invited to Soldier Island, an isolated rock off the Devon coast. I think this is a Poirot book. Then one of the party suddenly dies suddenly, and they realise that there could be a murderer in the midst, a murderer who might strike again and again. All the time, copies of the macabre nursery rhyme hang in each room, a nursery rhyme that tells of an omen of death of the 10 of them. This isn't long, short but sweet book. It's Agatha Christie. I know I'm going to love it. And then a book that I'm reading partly for the Spoonies Readathon and partly because it's a big frigging book. I love Nikki Pellegrin's books. What If You Were Given a Second Chance at Life? And I got this. This looks to me like it's a proof copy, but I don't know if it is for definite. But my heart weighs hardly anything. It's only a tiny piece of me, yet it's a part everyone finds most interesting. Vivi Palmer has always lived carefully, born with a heart defect until she was given a second chance at life after a transplant, but never dared to live life to the full until she meets her donor's mother, Grace, who is hoping for something in return. Vivi's helped to find all the people who share tiny pieces of her son. And reluctantly drawn into Grace's mission, Vivi's journalist training takes over, and then she tracks down a group of strangers. Looks really good. So that's my contemporary. And then last but not least, a chunky book, because I am trying to kill myself off. A book that I got given for my birthday last year by one of my Baz Books team, The Night She Disappeared by Lisa Jewell. Now Danny from Danny's Book World has been reading Lisa Jewell's book and recommended this one. It's 465 pages. It will be read only during the daytime because it scares the crap out of me. It's a gorgeous bloody hardback. It is beautiful. I love it. I love this. But Mum, there are some people here from college. They just asked us back to theirs, so just for an hour or so. Is that okay? Midsummer 2016. Teenage mum Tallulah heads out on a date, leaving her baby son at home with her mum Kim. At 11 p.m, she sends her mum a text message. At 4:30, Kim awakes to discover that Tallulah has not come home. Friends tell her that Tallulah was last seen heading to a pool party at the house of the woods nearby the dark place. Tallulah never returns. 2018, walking in the woods behind where the boarding school where her boyfriend has just started as a head teacher, Sophie sees a sign nailed to the fence that says, "Dig here." Ooh. Dark, but it does look good. And there was me thinking this video was going to be short. Oh well. Let me know how your reading is going this month. I would love to hear from you all. I hope you like this video. If you do, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, not subscribe it, bring on my ding-a-ling. Let me know, what's your favourite book of the month so far? Have you got any other plans for the readathon? Any of you doing my readathon? I'd love to hear in the comments down below. And I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.